Across the endless expanse of the North Asian taiga, a quiet, profound transformation unfolds as the brief northern summer breathes life into the forest, igniting a frantic seasonal rush for survival. Towering Scots pines anchor the forest canopy, trapping the sudden warmth of summer to ignite a frantic race for life before the bitter frost returns. To the untrained eye, this vast expanse of conifers appears as a peaceful sanctuary. Yet, scientifically, it is a highly competitive arena. Every square meter is an evolutionary battlefield where flora and fauna are locked in a relentless arms race for resources. Beneath the tranquil emerald canopy, a silent and ruthless ecological engine is running. The brief summer imposes a staggering metabolic tax on all inhabitants. High energy demands force predators to constantly scour this fragmented landscape for concentrated protein sources. This vast wilderness is the ultimate sanctuary for the honey buzzard. They arrive here from distant continents, driven by a singular purpose: to exploit the summer explosion of insect biomass. Unlike other raptors that hunt small mammals, the honey buzzard has evolved a unique biological defense. Its face is covered in dense, scale-like feathers and impenetrable armor against the venomous stings of wasps and hornets. Yet, the very biology that makes her an invincible hunter offers no protection when she becomes a mother. Static incubation transforms the mother into a vulnerable thermal target. Altitude offers no sanctuary from the Siberian marten, an arboreal mustelid equipped with specialized claws, evolutionarily engineered to infiltrate the canopy and extract high-yield protein payloads. The marten's assault is instantaneous, but the honey buzzard's maternal instinct violently overrides self-preservation. The mother bird instantly triggers an aggressive threat display, mantling her wings to artificially double her visual mass, disrupting the mammal's calculated attack vector. A brutal biomechanical clash erupts, the marten's jaws against the piercing force of raptorial talons, sustaining severe damage to her vital flight feathers. The buzzard weaponizes gravity and kinetic beak strikes to break the siege. Overpowered, the battered marten tumbles into the lower canopy, forced into a rapid retreat. The fierce struggle in the canopy gives way to the pulse of new life just days later. The buzzard embryos successfully puncture their calcium vaults. The lineage survives the taiga's crucible, securing the emergence of a new raptor generation. The taiga summer is a fleeting, volatile window. With no capacity for internal thermal regulation, the fragile chicks face a relentless metabolic countdown. Their rapid growth transfers a crushing energetic burden onto the parents, forcing them into constant aerial patrols to scour the vast coniferous maze for high-density protein. The ultimate source of this vital fuel lies hidden within heavily guarded biological bunkers. The target is the predatory hornet, a venomous hymenopteran, whose expanding colonies now peak in biomass, offering a highly dangerous yet calorically dense prize. Guided by sharp instincts, the mother zeroes in on her target. Taking flight, she navigates the canopy and locks onto a massive hornet nest hanging from the high branches, humming with life. As she lands and her talons tear into the structure, the nest erupts. Thousands of furious hornets swarm her, unleashing their venom. But the mother doesn't flinch. Her dense, scale-like facial feathers act as a perfect biological armor, rendering the deadly stings completely useless. Ignoring the chaotic assault, she ruthlessly rips open the nest to extract the ultimate prize, combs packed with energy-rich pupae. With the bounty secured, she takes flight, transforming the hornet's fallen fortress into the vital fuel her chicks desperately need to survive. As the golden hues of sunset bathe the taiga canopy, the relentless pace of the wild softens into a quiet grace. High in the nest, The hard-won spoils are gently shared, fueling the next generation before darkness falls. Life sustains life in an endless, mindful cycle, a delicate balance where even the fiercest battles are born from the deepest love. The African savanna is a vast, semi-arid biome defined by the brutal thermal dynamics of the dry season. Here, primary productivity dictates the survival of the entire trophic cascade. At the apex of this food web, a biological clock is ticking. After a gestation period of roughly 110 days, this female lion, Panthera leo, must temporarily sever ties with her pride. Isolation is a crucial evolutionary strategy to protect her vulnerable offspring from infanticide and opportunistic predators. Before parturition, elevated levels of prolactin and oxytocin induce active nesting behavior. The expulsion phase yields a litter of altricial cubs, highly vulnerable neonates born immobile and with minimal metabolic reserves. The statistical reality of the savanna is unforgiving. Biologically, up to 80% of these cubs will not survive their first year. For the lioness and her offspring, continuous tactile stimulation serves vital physiological functions. Beyond oxytocin-mediated maternal bonding, the mother's rhythmic grooming provides mechanical friction that directly stimulates the cub's underdeveloped digestive and excretory systems. The cub's playful interactions are far from trivial. They are complex neuromuscular simulations. Through mock ambushes, they actively forge the synaptic pathways required for future apex predation. Meanwhile, the lioness maintains a hyper-vigilant perimeter, constantly analyzing chemical cues in the wind to intercept potential threats from rival carnivores. Beyond the protective brush, the savanna opens into a vast biochemical factory. The dominant flora here utilizes C4 photosynthesis, a highly efficient metabolic pathway evolved to maximize carbon fixation while minimizing water loss under intense ultraviolet radiation. This relentless engine of primary production forms the structural foundation of the entire biome. This convergence of nutrient-dense forage and accessible water generates one of the highest mammalian carrying capacities on Earth. For a lioness managing a severe caloric deficit, this hyper-abundant ecosystem is a calculated arena of thermodynamics. The savanna continuously generates the biological fuel. She must now deploy her biomechanics to extract it. Utilizing the dense riparian vegetation for optical camouflage, the lioness calculates her attack vector. Padded digits absorb acoustic vibrations, allowing for near-silent locomotion. The prey the lioness has chosen is a megaherbivore, Hippopotamus amphibius. A brutal isometric struggle ensues. The lioness launches, sinking retractable claws into the hippo's thick epidermis to anchor herself, attempting a precision strike at the carotid artery. For several tense moments, the lioness leverages her entire body mass in a desperate bid to exhaust the megaherbivore. With a sudden explosive torque of its massive cervical muscles, the hippo violently breaks the stalemate, utilizing its 1,800 pounds per square inches bite force to physically overpower and reject the apex predator. These hydrodynamic disturbances are immediately intercepted by Crocodilus niloticus, the Nile crocodile. Embedded along the reptile's jawline are specialized integumentary sense organs, ISOs, capable of detecting microscopic shifts in water pressure. Calculating the exact vector of the mammalian distress signals, the ectothermic predator initiates its stealth protocol, utilizing bradycardia to drastically lower its heart rate. Propelled by massive axial musculature, the crocodile initiates a kinetic ambush, deploying a 5,000 pounds per square inches bite force designed to execute a fatal hydrodynamic death roll. Fueled by a sudden epinephrine surge, the lioness detonates her remaining fast-twitch muscle fibers for a lateral evasion, breaching the bank but incurring a devastating metabolic cost and severe lactic acid buildup. Golden light filters through a lush, emerald canopy, weaving a tapestry of warmth and vibrant life across the forest floor. At a glance, this sun-drenched haven breathes with an almost poetic serenity. Yet beneath this radiant green shelter lies a high-stakes ecological crucible. Even under a dense green shelter, ambient heat easily surpasses 40 degrees Celsius, dropping relative humidity down to a sharp 30%. Without moist ground air to stabilize scent trails, volatile organic compounds evaporate rapidly, demanding extreme olfactory precision from every hunter. The dry leaf litter carpeting the sunlit floor creates a high-density acoustic warning system. Without heavy moisture to muffle vibrations, every subtle step resonates through the trees, stripping predators of traditional stealth and elevating bioenergetic efficiency to a matter of life and death. In this sun-drenched jungle, survival hinges on strict metabolic management. One single misstep means total extinction. Driven by an innate surge of curiosity, an 8-week-old pup steps away from the maternal boundary. At this crucial developmental milestone, its developing central nervous system craves sensory input, overriding the hardwired instinct of fear. Every clumsy waddle is a calibration of motor skills and spatial awareness. The pup's olfactory receptors, now maturing, decipher a chaotic tapestry of scents from sun-bleached bark to the faint pheromones of hidden microfauna. A world of striking beauty and lethal precision. A misstep into the intertwined root network of an ancient buttress tree and the pup is trapped. Panic triggers a sharp, high-frequency distress call, an acoustic signal tuned by evolution to bypass background forest noise and pierce straight through the mother's auditory cortex. Instantly, the mother's brain releases a surge of adrenaline, locking her into an acute rescue response. Paws digging for traction, she covers the distance in seconds. In this sunlit ecosystem, distress cries are a double-edged sword. They summon protection, but they also broadcast vulnerability to every lurking apex predator. With a calculated lift and a firm, practiced grip on the nape, she extracts the youngster intact. Relief in the wild is painfully brief. 100 meters away, through the dappled shadows of the lower canopy, two binocular eyes lock onto the targets with lethal mathematical precision. A white tiger, a rare genetic marvel possessing leucism. In a sun-drenched jungle, its pale coat breaks up its silhouette, transforming the apex predator into a phantom woven directly into the blinding glare. Lowering its center of gravity, every muscle compresses like a coiled spring. It measures every breath, waiting for the exact moment the prey lets its guard down. The ambush is sprung. Exploding from the dense underbrush, 200 kilograms of pure muscle convert chemical potential energy into instantaneous kinetic power. the white tiger reaches maximum acceleration in mere microseconds. A desperate high-speed pursuit ensues through the sun-dappled trees, while the tiger relies on raw biomechanical torque and a massive stride length to close the gap. The mother wolf leverages superior agility and a lower turning radius to weave through the obstacles. Cornered and running out of territory, the mother leverages a critical microhabitat, the hollow cavity of an ancient hardwood tree. With her pups secure inside, the mother launches into a desperate, all-out assault against the giant. Driven by a massive surge of maternal oxytocin and adrenaline, she completely bypasses her self-preservation instinct, initiating a fierce, unyielding counterattack. Overwhelmed by her sheer ferocity, the titan concedes and retreats into the sunlit shadows. Seeking warmth and security, the pup nestles deep into its mother's flank. Licking each other's wounds is not merely a gesture of affection. Wolf saliva contains lysozyme and histidines, biochemical compounds that actively inhibit bacterial growth and accelerate tissue regeneration. As golden dusk filters through the green canopy, the forest temperature drops. This shared physical contact fulfills a critical thermoregulatory function, conserving vital body heat as the thermal energy of the day vanishes into the twilight. The African savannah, at the height of the dry season. It is not a barren wasteland, but a masterclass in ecological patience. Out here, energy is the ultimate currency. To endure the solar radiation, the grass eaters enter a waking meditation, actively down-regulating their metabolism. Lowering their metabolic rate, the hunted shift posture to deflect heat while their senses map the wind, a silent biological triumph. Lionesses initiate a calculated metabolic shutdown to regenerate fast-twitch muscle fibers, preserving maximum kinetic potential for the upcoming fierce hunts. This process demands 20 hours of deep rest to fuel their explosive anaerobic sprints. In the open plains, the female ostrich establishes a secure perimeter. She excavates the sun-baked surface to expose the cooler soil beneath. This is a strategically engineered microclimate, designed to buffer her nest against the savanna's extreme thermal shock. Anchored within this depression, she lays her eggs. Her massive body now serves as a biological heat shield, strictly regulating the temperature parameters required for embryo survival. Each egg is an evolutionary marvel. The dense calcium carbonate shell is structured with microscopic pores, facilitating embryonic respiration while sealing against the arid atmospheric pressure. Shattering the calcium shell, the chicks emerge precocial, biologically equipped to walk the savanna within minutes. The ostrich chicks face their first physical challenge, learning to walk. Every clumsy stumble builds vital muscle memory, conditioning their legs for the constant locomotion required to survive the savanna. Parallel to this, an apex weapon reactivates. Once basic equilibrium is established, the chicks shift their focus to sensory processing. Their expanding visual field begins mapping the terrain, analyzing spatial dimensions and ground textures. Once basic equilibrium is established, the chicks shift their focus to sensory processing. Their expanding visual field begins mapping the terrain, analyzing spatial dimensions and ground textures. The mother functions as a mobile biological shield. Through low-frequency acoustic signals, she constantly calibrates her offspring's spatial awareness against surrounding threats. Transitioning to ambush mode, the lioness employs pure acoustic stealth. Shock-absorbing paw pads mute her approach, while her pigmentation perfectly dissolves into the optical spectrum of the dry grass. Stalking relies on geometric precision. The lioness systematically exploits topographical blind spots to close the distance without triggering the prey's visual radar. The physiological equation reaches critical mass. The lioness must breach the 30-meter strike radius before the mother's threat detection network registers the anomaly. The stealth perimeter collapses. The lioness detonates her fast-twitch muscle reserves, unleashing an explosive burst of anaerobic power to reach maximum velocity in mere seconds. The chick's newly mapped neural pathways instantly switch to survival mode. It executes erratic, sharp-angle evasions, forcing the much heavier predator to constantly recalculate her intercept trajectory and bleed vital momentum. This chase is a lethal biological countdown. Built for explosive sprints, the lioness rapidly overheats. She must strike within seconds, or thermal exhaustion will completely shut down her muscles. Triggered by acute acoustic distress signals, the mother intercepts. Reaching bipedal speeds of 70 kilometers per hour, she weaponizes her massive kinetic energy, instantly severing the predator's strike trajectory. The ostrich flock surges forward at high velocity, weaponizing their collective kinetic energy to violently swarm the outmatched lioness. The predator-prey dynamic violently inverts. An adult ostrich delivers a forward kick with devastating biomechanical efficiency, packing enough blunt force trauma and shearing power from its claws to permanently cripple a large feline. The predatory threat neutralized. The flock's elevated adrenaline levels rapidly baseline. The mother immediately reconnects with her chicks, employing tactile stimulation to assess their physical integrity and stabilize their physiological stress. As the solar gradient drops, the savannah transitions into its nocturnal thermal regime. The chicks have successfully executed their primary biological directive for the day, surviving the apex crucible of the open plains. As the Earth shifts its axis, the Serengeti sheds the heavy cloak of night. Dawn here is not merely a sunrise. It is a biological trigger. The sudden spike in thermal radiation resets the survival clock of millions. For the grazers, the first light offers a fleeting illusion of safety, but in this 3-million-year-old theater, visibility is a double-edged sword. Driven by an ancient biological imperative, an expectant female severs her ties with the safety of the mass. The first contractions have begun. Every ancient instinct now focuses on the imminent birth, preparing her body for the most vulnerable moment on the savannah. Yet, giving birth alone is the savannah's ultimate gamble. The rush of amniotic fluid releases a potent chemical beacon, drifting miles downwind. The delivery is complete, but the physical transition is still underway. The newborn foal remains partially encased in the amniotic sac. This translucent membrane, which provided vital protection inside the womb, must now be shed. The mother acts instinctively to assist her offspring. She focuses directly on the tissue surrounding the foal's head. By licking and gently nipping at the membrane, she uncovers the face, ensuring the foal can comfortably take its first full breaths of air. foal's instinctive drive to stand serves a vital biomechanical function here. As it extends its long legs and pushes upward, gravity and the weight of the fluid-soaked tissue work together with the foal's movement. This combined mechanical tension stretches and breaks the membrane, systematically peeling it completely away from the coat and freeing the hind legs for mobility. The first touch is gentle, yet driven by absolute urgency. By meticulously cleaning her foal, the mother isn't just showing affection, she is actively erasing the scent of birth, a vital countermeasure against predators that map this landscape by smell. Within minutes of taking its first breath, the foal faces its greatest test. It must conquer gravity. Its legs are disproportionately long, nearly adult-sized. This is not an accident of nature. It's an evolutionary masterpiece, engineered for immediate flight. As they nuzzle, an invisible, lifelong bond is forged. She deliberately stands between her foal and the rest of the world. In these quiet seconds, the newborn's brain takes a mental photograph, memorizing the unique barcode of its mother's stripes. The foal's initial steps are unsteady, but it adapts with remarkable speed. Zebras are a precocial species, born with a highly developed nervous system. Continuous walking forces blood into the foal's long legs, rapidly reinforcing the muscle coordination required to run. The mother dictates the pace, continuously assessing her foal's stamina. She is deliberately navigating her offspring out of the dense brush, taking the first calculated steps toward reuniting with the protective numbers of the herd. The shift in the wind carries the scent of the newborn foal across the savannah. A pride of lionesses intercepts this chemical signal. Their olfactory system is highly specialized, allowing them to determine the exact direction and approximate distance of their potential prey without visual confirmation. To close the distance undetected, the lionesses rely on physical adaptation. Their tawny coats blend seamlessly with the dry grass. They move in a coordinated formation, spreading out to flank the mother and her single foal. Soft, thick pads on the bottom of their paws absorb the impact of their weight, enabling them to navigate the dry terrain in near silence. The pride's strategy is dictated by their biology. Lions possess limited stamina for long pursuits, requiring them to minimize the distance before initiating a sprint. They collectively target the young foal, analyzing its unsteady movements and lack of top speed, identifying it as the highest probability target. The mother zebra continues to monitor her surroundings, but the lead lioness initiates the strike. Utilizing the massive fast-twitch muscle fibers in her hindquarters, she accelerates from a standstill to 60 kilometers per hour in just 3 seconds. The zebra's sensitive ears catch the sound instantly. Panic ripples through the herd like a shockwave, and they immediately scatter in terror. But this frontal assault is a calculated trap. By triggering the stampede, The lioness is purposely herding the panicked zebras straight toward the rest of the pride waiting in ambush. In this blinding dust and chaos, the young foal has only one lifeline. It must perfectly copy its mother's every move, or be left behind. At top speed, the fleeing herd deploys its greatest natural defense, a visual illusion. As dozens of zebras sprint and weave together, their black and white stripes merge into a dizzying blur. This phenomenon, known as motion dazzle, makes it incredibly difficult for a chasing lion to judge speed, distance, or single out one individual. The choking dust of the dry savanna only deepens the predator's confusion. The pursuit forces the herd to the edge of a fast-flowing river. They are trapped between the approaching lions and the turbulent water. Driven by the immediate threat on land, the zebras make a calculated behavioral choice. Plunging into the treacherous current presents a statistically higher chance of survival. Entering the water instantly neutralizes their speed advantage. The dense current rapidly drains their stamina. Their hooves, evolved for traction on hard savanna soil, struggle to find stability on the slippery riverbed. The mass movement creates a bottleneck, pushing the animals deeper into the channel. This massive aquatic disturbance alerts a completely different apex predator. Nile crocodiles utilize specialized sensory receptors along their jaws to detect low-frequency vibrations in the water. They can pinpoint the exact location of the struggling zebras, moving in to intercept. Driven by sheer panic, they do not pause to defend themselves. They thrash violently, using their powerful muscles simply to break the water's resistance, their visual focus locked entirely on reaching the opposite bank. This reckless crossing is a brutal evolutionary calculation. By moving as a dense, chaotic mass at maximum physical exertion, they overwhelm the predator's ability to target effectively. Individual safety is temporarily sacrificed for the forward momentum of the group. Through pure physical endurance, the vast majority scramble up the bank, successfully escaping the aquatic threat. Safe on the opposite bank, the herd's collective heart rate begins to decelerate. The massive spike of adrenaline and cortisol required for the high-speed escape slowly dissipates from their bloodstreams. The river has acted as a ruthless evolutionary filter. Those remaining on this bank have successfully passed a rigorous test of physical endurance and spatial awareness. In the savanna ecosystem, peace is merely a temporary biological reset. Their sensory radars remain active, processing the wind for the next inevitable threat. The African savanna. Beneath this sweeping ocean of green lies a highly complex, invisible network of biological information, drifting on the air currents. On these plains, the fundamental law of natural selection is absolute. The strong survive, while the weak are eliminated. Pause 1S. It is a relentless biological filter, constantly testing the physical and mental limits of every individual. But this ruthless hierarchy extends far beyond predator and prey. Within the herd itself, the drive for genetic dominance creates a fierce internal rivalry. Resources and protection are privileges reserved only for the most capable. Nature affords no sentimentality. Whether targeted by rival species or marginalized by their own kind, the frail are systematically left behind, ensuring that only the apex genetics inherit the savanna. To claim the ultimate prize, the right to breed these massive Cape Buffalo bulls must face a brutal test of strength. When they collide, their thick bone shields, called the boss, absorb an impact force equivalent to a car crash. This clash is a brutal test of endurance. Their massive muscles burn through oxygen, pushing their hearts to the absolute limit. Only the strongest genetics will earn the right to lead the herd. But in the wild, there is only one winner. For the defeated bull, the physical pain is matched by a sudden drop in testosterone. Biology forces him to submit, shattering his pride. Forced out of the herd's protective circle, the fallen giant limps into the dry, unforgiving scrubland. The transition from a dominant alpha to an outcast is immediate and cruel. Alone, he loses the herd's collective eyes and ears. Without this early warning system, the once untouchable king is now dangerously exposed, an isolated target in a landscape full of predators. In the boundless expanse of the savannah, isolation is a slow, silent fading of existence. Yet, the wild is governed by unpredictable probabilities. The exiled male crosses paths with a solitary female, two fractured shadows drifting in the vastness. Drawn together by a quiet understanding, they form an intimate sanctuary. Instantly, their rhythms synchronize. Four eyes and ears move in harmony not just to map threats, but to watch over one another, restoring a sense of safety they had both lost. As the perilous process of parturition anchors the female to the earth, the male makes a critical tactical decision. He physically separates himself from her side, leaving the immediate vicinity to assume the role of the ultimate sentinel. Ascending to higher ground, he exponentially expands his sensory radius. His cupped ears map acoustic anomalies, while flared nostrils aggressively sample thermal updrafts for microscopic chemical threats. But his elevated vantage point creates a fatal blind spot on the ground below. Drawn by the unmistakable olfactory signature of amniotic fluid, a solitary lioness has already breached their perimeter. The lioness begins her stalk, directly targeting this newly exposed gap in their defense. Compressing her spine and lowering her center of gravity, she utilizes the dry savanna grass as a dynamic optical illusion to camouflage her approach. Every padded step is mathematically calculated to absorb vibration and silence her approach. The lioness moves strictly downwind, ensuring her scent profile is blown away from the sentinel's sophisticated radar. Inch by inch, she bridges the gap. The lioness now waits within the strike zone, heavily focusing on the paralyzed mother, a ticking biological time bomb ready to detonate. The lioness launches a sudden strike, unleashing her pure hunting instinct. Her objective is simple: to find a vitamin-rich meal. Despite her sheer exhaustion, the buffalo fiercely fights back. She swings her heavy horns, battling not just for her own survival, but to protect the fragile heartbeat within her. She is enduring two agonies at once: the grueling toll of labor and the predator's deadly strike. A sudden shift in the wind delivers an invisible warning. Catching the scent of the predator and sensing the mortal danger to his mate, the male erupts in primal fury. Charging down the slope, gravity multiplies his kinetic energy, transforming nearly a ton of muscle into a runaway biological tank. Reaching maximum velocity, the male buffalo delivers a devastating blow. The massive kinetic force strikes the lioness directly, instantly crushing her predatory advantage with absolute muscle power. Built for stealth rather than absorbing heavy blunt force trauma, the lioness is staggered. Faced with the male buffalo's desperate defense of his partner, her survival instinct quickly overrides her hunger. Overwhelmed by this display of protective power, the lioness desperately retreats into the dense brush. The sanctuary for the mother and her unborn calf is safely reclaimed. The threat dissipates, and the savannah reclaims its tranquil rhythm. The mother completes the birthing process, successfully delivering her calf. Driven by a powerful surge of oxytocin, she establishes an immediate biological bond with her newborn. Within minutes, the newborn calf must be able to stand and walk. This is a critical survival trait for prey species on the open plains, the ability to move immediately to avoid lingering predators. Under the setting sun, the male buffalo maintains his strict guard. His massive size acts as a physical shield, providing a safe zone for the calf's first steps. The successful defense has secured the continuation of their bloodline. As the family of three walks together toward the horizon, a new generation begins its journey. The cycle of life on the savannah continues. Daybreak over the East African savanna. As radiant sunlight burns off the morning mist, it unveils an endless ocean of golden grasses. These drought-resistant perennials hold the secret to surviving under the most brutal conditions, storing precious moisture within their resilient fibers. Beneath this serene golden veil lies a cold, thermodynamic reality. Solar energy trapped in plant fibers triggers a relentless trophic cascade, a brutal chain reaction where every calorie gained demands a life in return. Deep in the underbrush, humidity drops as temperatures surge, forcing every creature into an immediate race against dehydration. Here, survival is a high-stakes game of spatial awareness. Open terrain strips away cover, forcing solitary ambush predators to stalk through micro-topography. Meanwhile, high grass creates a dangerous trade-off. It hides the hunter, but seals in sound and blinds the prey. It fuels a perpetual evolutionary arms race between the silent, lethal strike of a solitary predator and the collective vigilance of a social herd. As thermal currents rise, another unforgiving shift begins in Earth's ultimate biological arena. High above the ground, a leopard rests on a low branch, a masterclass in muscular efficiency. Cold, calculating eyes analyze the terrain, scanning the vegetation for the slightest ripple of movement. Suddenly, from the subterranean burrows around a termite mound, a clan of 15 surrogates emerges. Dark rings around their eyes act as natural anti-glare filters, allowing them to track threats even against the harsh African sun. Against a solitary ambush predator, early detection is an impenetrable defense. As the leopard recalibrates its strategy, a massive 5-meter African rock python slithers into the arena, a wall of dense interwoven muscle. This apex ectotherm is capable of generating lethal hydraulic pressure. Positioned in the shadows, the leopard holds its ground, coolly evaluating the giant reptile. Two apex predators now stand at the same crossroads, locked onto the exact same target, the surrogate colony. But the leopard hesitates with calculating intelligence. It yields the first move to the serpent, choosing to analyze the colony's defensive reaction before committing its own precious energy to the strike. Foraging in the harsh soil, surrogates operate like high-speed excavation machinery. 2-centimeter curved claws slice through compact sand, while their rigid, slender tails press firmly against the earth, functioning as a stabilizing tripod for perfect balance. Driven by an exceptionally high metabolic rate, a surrogate must consume nearly 8% of its body weight daily. Pausing between hunts, the mob huddles together for social grooming, a critical behavior that lowers stress hormones and reinforces group cohesion. Meanwhile, the dominant alpha pair patrols the perimeter. Suddenly, a sentinel bark warns of a creeping threat, triggering an instant system recalibration. In a split second, every head snaps toward the danger zone, locking their eyes onto the grass line. Sliding through the dry grass, the African rock python's massive muscle frame advances, sending subtle micro-vibrations through the sun-baked soil. The surrogate mob deploys a violent, highly coordinated mobbing response. Forming an elastic ring, individual surrogates take turns lunging at the serpent's flank, biting its scales, and retreating instantly to break its focus. The entire mob strikes simultaneously from every angle. Frontline surrogates charge directly before the python's eyes while the others press from the flanks, completely confusing the giant serpent. The solitary leopard observes the violent display. With binocular visual acuity tuned to track subtle movements, the apex predator processes the high-risk reality of this collective defense. The surrogate's hyper-aggressive mobbing behavior alters the cost-benefit equation. The caloric yield of a small meal cannot justify the grave risk of blinding claws or crippling bites. Turning back, the leopard silently retreats into the brush. The surrogate mob stands fused like a single, unbreakable organism, bristling with unyielding hostility as they lock their eyes on the trees. Before them, each step back is an agonizing concession to hunger for the leopard. Its stomach churns with desperate need, yet the predator's drive is crushed by the sheer math of survival. To attack this united front is to gamble its life for a mere mouthful. Glancing back one last time at the fearless sentinels, the ravenous cat fades into the gloom, leaving the surrogates masters of their domain. As the tension dissolves, the sun sinks below the Kalahari horizon, bathing the arid expanse in deep amber hues. The fading twilight triggers a shift in nocturnal thermal currents, finally cooling the scorching sand and bringing peace back to the desert. At ground zero, the savannah operates under a brutal thermal boundary layer. Here, relentless shortwave radiation bombards the exposed earth, engineering a microclimate of perpetual drought and extreme photochemical stress. For the fauna, this environment imposes a severe metabolic tax. Ground-level survival dictates extreme morphological adaptations, especially when tracking highly venomous, cold-blooded prey camouflaged within the dry biomass. Most avian predators patrol above the heat haze, but one apex hunter has chosen to abandon the sky, evolving elongated tarsimetatarsus bones, engineered to deliver a blunt force strike, capable of shattering a cobra's skull with a single calculated step. The secretary bird Sagittarius serpentarius. Emerging from the heat shimmer, this apex raptor operates as a strictly terrestrial anomaly. Classified as a raptor, it has abandoned the sky for a relentless terrestrial patrol. Traversing up to 30 kilometers a day, its anatomy is a lethal biomechanical paradox, the elongated legs of a wading bird, weaponized with the flesh-tearing talons of an eagle. A microscopic rustle in the desiccated grass. A puff adder, a master of ambush, navigates the thermal shadows. Every muscular contraction is utterly silent, but it has trespassed into a biological radar zone. The secretary bird locks on. The savannah holds its breath. A high-stakes biometric standoff. The viper coils into a spring-loaded strike position, fangs primed with a tissue-melting hemotoxin. Distance, under 2 meters. The bird does not flinch. It meticulously shifts its center of gravity, presenting its keratin-armored legs as bait and shield. One miscalculation means death. The threshold is breached. To avoid a fatal bite to the beak, the bird dictates the kill zone. It unleashes a kinetic execution, a specialized downward stomp delivering 5 times its own body weight in a fraction of a second. Contact time. Exactly 1.5 milliseconds, 10 times faster than the blink of an eye. The secretary bird completely outpaces the snake's neural reflexes, instantly shutting down any counterattack. No energy is wasted on sight. Clamping the defeated viper in its beak, the secretary bird deploys its 2-meter wingspan, instantly generating massive lift. It takes to the sky, hauling the toxic payload into the heat haze. A flawless, lightning-fast extraction. Ascending through the blistering heat, the female secretary bird transports her payload. Down below, the savannah bakes under a relentless solar assault. But at this altitude, the secretary bird chicks await. Their hyperactive metabolic engines demand a relentless supply of pure protein to fuel rapid bone and feather synthesis. The mother meticulously portions the snake into precise, digestible fragments. Because venom must be injected to be effective, ingested orally, the toxic proteins are completely harmless to the chicks. Tormented by relentless hunger, a honey badger intercepts the scent of the biological payload drifting down the thermal currents. Anatomically engineered for subterranean excavation, climbing contradicts its entire biomechanical design. Gravity is its absolute enemy. Its blunt digging claws struggle to find purchase on the unyielding acacia bark. The aerial fortress is officially compromised. The gentle nurturer vanishes. Unfurling her wings, the mother plummets, intercepting the intruder with a ruthless aerial strike. Overwhelmed by the localized impacts, the badger's precarious grip completely fails. Gravity reclaims the scavenger, sending it crashing to the dirt. Crashed back to the unforgiving dirt, the battered scavenger retreats into the brush, its hyperactive metabolism still tormented by an unyielding, unfulfilled hunger. The adrenaline surge subsides, cortisol levels drop. As the solar engine powers down, the savannah is bathed in the fading golden spectrum of dusk. The acacia tree returns to a state of absolute tranquility. After a day defined by evolutionary brutality, the biological investment is secure for another night. Morning in the rainforest, a cathedral of emerald light. As the golden hour breaks, solar radiation gently filters through a 3-dimensional matrix of broadleaf canopy. The air is dry and crisp, awakening a billion stomata to breathe in the dawn. Anchored to the heart of an ancient giant, a tree slowly surrendering its legacy back to the earth, hangs a masterpiece of biological architecture, an exposed wild honeybee colony. To protect their wax citadel from the mounting thermal heat, workers beat their wings 230 times per second, orchestrating a cooling microstorm. At the slightest tremor, sentinels arm their stingers, ready to release isoamyl acetate, a highly volatile alarm pheromone. The wild is always armed. A black bear, consumed by a gnawing hunger, the apex olfactory navigator of this forest. The morning breeze carries a potent chemical signature straight to its receptors. Lipids, proteins, and concentrated sucrose. A high-calorie beacon is locked. With a nasal cavity packed with millions of scent receptors, its sense of smell is 7 times greater than a bloodhound's. It doesn't just smell the honey. It is actively rendering a 3D topographic map to the exact coordinates of the hive. The bear's jaw delivers a crushing force of over 800 pounds per square inches, tearing through the decaying branch, anchoring the hive. The bear is actively hunting the nutrient-dense bee larvae deep inside the suspended comb, a critical, high-yield protein reserve. As the suspended fortress is violently breached, the colony's alarm system triggers into overdrive. A brutal collision between raw mammalian power and insectoid chemical warfare has officially begun. That radiant chemical scent has awakened a second phantom from the jungle's deepest shadows, carrying a primal, gnawing hunger, and propelled by a ruthless caloric deficit. A master of survival steps into the light, Mellivora capensis, the honey badger. Weighing barely 14 kilograms, it faces a competitor 10 times its mass. Yet, fear is a biological mechanism largely absent from its neural circuitry. Driven by an aggressive metabolic demand for the high-octane honey, the badger initiates an acoustic assault. Its characteristic shrill hiss is a calculated psychological weapon designed to disrupt the bear's focus. High in the canopy, the bear achieves a delicate biomechanical balance. Anchoring its massive frame with curved claws that act as climbing crampons, it manipulates the hive with surprising dexterity. Using its prehensile lips and a highly agile tongue, it systematically extracts the nutrient-dense pupae from the hexagonal wax matrix. This is a crucial caloric windfall, flooding its system with essential lipids and amino acids. Pacing at the base of the tree, the badger is calculating its moment for kleptoparasitism, the ecological strategy of stealing a larger predator's prize. It can afford this extreme audacity thanks to a unique evolutionary defense, an exceptionally thick, rubbery epidermis, completely detached from its underlying muscle. The inevitable confrontation ignites, a clash of biomechanical extremes, the massive bulk of the apex bear against the unyielding ferocity of the honey badger. Without hesitation, the badger launches a direct physical challenge for the caloric prize, proving that in this ecosystem, evolutionary audacity can completely neutralize raw physical dominance. The anchor point snaps. Without structural support, gravity pulls the massive wax citadel down. It plummets to the forest floor, shattering upon impact, and instantly exposed. Over 50,000 bees erupt into a dark insectoid storm. The air is instantly saturated with alarm pheromones, subjecting the combatants to a deafening acoustic and chemical assault. In the face of this overwhelming swarm intelligence, mammalian aggression falters. The sensory overload is absolute, and the biological cost of endurance now far outweighs the caloric reward. Forced to abort the duel, both predators launch into an immediate, chaotic retreat. The apex predator relies on a primal evasion tactic. Plunging into a slow-moving aquatic microhabitat, the black bear uses the water for more than just thermal relief. It is actively neutralizing the chemical markers, washing away the highly volatile alarm pheromones that guide the stings of the swarm. Despite its massive bulk, the black bear is wired with a highly sensitive flight response. When overwhelmed by a collective enemy it cannot physically fight, instinct overrides aggression, dictating immediate spatial distancing. The giant chooses self-preservation. In stark contrast, the honey badger moves with calculated ease through the chaos. Navigating the fallen timber, it seizes the perfect distraction. It snatches up a shattered piece of the honeycomb, a nutrient-dense prize won with barely any effort. The adrenaline of the retreat quickly dissolves into a much deadlier sensation: starvation. In this unforgiving wilderness, every calorie lost is a step closer to death. Standing in the icy current, the bear is driven not by instinct alone, but by a gnawing, desperate void in its gut. The river is merciless, siphoning away its remaining body heat and accelerating the metabolic drain. The bear must strike a lethal balance, freeze like a statue of muscle to avoid detection, while its internal furnace burns through its last fat reserves. Nature offers no sympathy for the hungry. It demands absolute, flawless precision. Driven to the brink, the bear unleashes a violent explosion of kinetic energy. It's a strike fueled purely by desperation. 5-centimeter claws rip through the water, acting as biological harpoons. It pins a massive, unsuspecting target to the riverbed, a life-or-death gamble that finally pays off. Water erupts as the fish thrashes violently, fighting its own grim battle for survival. But the bear's jaws, powered by raw starvation, lock shut with an unbreakable force. Dragging the heavy prize through the current's resistance, it wades toward the sandy bank. One life is brutally extinguished, so another can endure. The aquatic struggle is brief. The bear's jaws lock with anatomical precision, firmly securing the heavy catch. Clamping the fish tightly, the massive predator wades against the resisting current. With deliberate, heavy strides, it steps up onto the solid riverbank, river water cascading from its dense, dark coat as it leaves the hunting ground behind. Here, on the safety of the bank, the undeniable rule of the food web is laid bare. The bear focuses on its hard-won meal, a moment of pure survival, prioritizing the vital intake of premium biological fuel. Rich fats and proteins are instantly converted into the energy needed to endure the wilderness. In this ecosystem, hunger is the ultimate driving force, shaping a relentless cycle of adaptation just to see another dawn. In the wild, memory is an expensive metabolic commodity. There are no grudges held here, no vendettas pursued. The chaotic clashes of the day are quickly erased from neurological priorities, making way for the immediate and absolute demands of survival. Every inhabitant of this ecosystem operates on strict biological pragmatism. Yesterday's rival is irrelevant. Tomorrow's caloric deficit is the only absolute truth. In this constant struggle, survival demands that every violent encounter be left behind, as life seamlessly reverts to its relentless, solitary rhythm. For the bear and the badger, it is simply another rotation of the earth, a relentless, beautiful loop of raw survival, continuing under the fading light of the natural world. At the absolute edge of the biosphere lies Greenland, a landmass entombed beneath 3 kilometers of primordial ice. Operating as Earth's largest thermal mirror, this blinding expanse repels solar radiation, collapsing surface temperatures to a lethal -50 degrees. On this unforgiving tundra, vegetation is a memory. Flesh is the only high-density fuel. And the hunt is the ultimate biological imperative. In the merciless Arctic, a mother walrus's body is the ultimate sanctuary. Draining her thermal reserves, she transfers life-saving heat to her calf, a true biological sacrifice. To ensure the walrus calf's survival, this sheltering embrace must briefly be broken. The mother leaves the glaring ice to cross into a completely different dimension, plunging into the Arctic Ocean, she trades the freezing wind for the crushing weight of the abyss. Above, the motionless calf guards its core heat, awaiting the life-saving nourishment. Her mammalian diving reflex takes over. Extreme bradycardia sets in, slashing her heart rate to conserve oxygen locked deep within her myoglobin-rich muscles. Descending to the pitch-black benthic floor, she hunts entirely by touch. Her vibrissa sweep the mud for hidden prey. Every second underwater, weighed against the fragile life waiting above. At the dead end of her oxygen supply, maternal resilience overrides all biological limits. Across the frozen expanse, a mother's devotion is measured in pure sacrifice. Facing a severe energy deficit after months in the den, she silently breaks down her own tissue. She converts her remaining strength into a 30% lipid biofluid, the life-sustaining milk her cubs desperately need. But this miraculous transfer of life carries a heavy toll. She is actively losing over 1 kilogram of body weight every day. To save her cubs from the looming threat of starvation, she must make the hardest choice: to step away from their warmth. Leaving her cubs tucked safely in a state of energy-saving slumber, the mother activates her most vital survival tool. Driven by the urgent need to feed them, her extraordinary olfactory receptors lock onto a vulnerable target. A solitary walrus calf exposed on the open ice, over 30 kilometers away. Closing the distance, the bear becomes a phantom of the ice. Her massive paws, lined with micropapillae for maximum friction, absorb every structural shockwave. Stalking strictly against the wind, she weaponizes the elements to mask her fatal approach. Curling up strictly to save warmth, the calf is entirely defenseless. A brutal truth unfolds. One family's survival demands another's sacrifice. Just as the bear's fatal blow is about to land on the calf, the ocean erupts. The mother returns. Propelled by sheer maternal instinct and nearly a ton of muscular mass, she breaches the ice edge, throwing her massive frame between the predator and her calf. Predators calculate risk, not pride. A single wound means starvation for her own cubs. The polar bear is forced to retreat. One mother saves her calf, while another fades back into the unforgiving white void. Time is running out. Entering the seal's domain, she faces a ruthless physical law. Water drains body heat 25 times faster than air. She must turn her desperate hunger into an explosive burst of hydrodynamic speed. The ringed seal is infinitely more agile, but the bear relies on a flawless blind spot ambush, striking with a crushing jaw pressure of over 1200 CI. Death is instantaneous. The grueling pursuit is over. This massive intake of blubber reignites her thermodynamic engine. The sacrifice of one life guarantees the survival of 3. Gathering around the hard-won catch, mother and cubs feast together on the energy-dense blubber. While rapidly replenishing her lipid reserves, she gently shares the life-saving nourishment, a brutal hunt, culminating in the absolute warmth of maternal devotion. As the immediate hunger subsides, the greater thermodynamic cycle reclaims the landscape. This frozen ocean is not static. It is a dynamic, shifting biome, endlessly fractured and rebuilt by deep ocean currents and plummeting atmospheric pressure.
Governed by the Earth's extreme axial tilt, the brief solar window begins to close. As the sun surrenders to the horizon, a severe thermal inversion takes hold, locking sub-zero temperatures directly against the ice. Darkness descends over the top of our world. But in this unforgiving frontier, life does not merely endure the night, it masters it. The beautiful, ruthless equation of the Arctic rolls on.
Within this dense, tangled microclimate, smaller species do not merely hide, they integrate. Utilizing rapid thermal regulation and acute seismic sensitivity, they turn the interlocking root systems into an advanced early warning grid. Driven by intense resource competition, species have evolved specialized morphological weaponry from reinforced armor plating to high-impact kinetic appendages. Every physical clash is a calculated gamble of the victor claims the ultimate ecological prize, exclusive access to caloric reserves and reproductive rights. In this harsh coastal fortress, conflict is the crucible that forces evolution forward. Beyond the relentless salt winds, the dense interior of the coastal scrub forms an impenetrable biological shield. Here, the interlocking canopy creates a stable microclimate, protecting life from the scorching ultraviolet radiation. Survival here is not always a physical clash. It is a masterclass in energy conservation. Daily behavioral rhythms are strictly dictated by the shifting temperature gradients. Deep within the scrub, a sounder of wild boars engages in intensive soil bioturbation. Their highly modified snouts act as powerful biomechanical plows, guided by an olfactory cortex capable of detecting subterranean caloric reserves. Intently focused on foraging, they are completely unaware that their body heat has just exposed their exact location to a hidden predator. A tiger relies on its natural camouflage. Its vertical stripes blend perfectly with the shadows of the palm leaves, making a 200-kilogram predator completely invisible. Wild boars possess an exceptional sense of smell, often surpassing that of dogs. To counter this, the tiger continuously monitors the airflow, moving strictly upwind so its scent is blown in the opposite direction. A tiger's paw is a masterpiece of sound suppression. Thick fat pads absorb the entire weight of its body, while a specialized ligament system keeps the claws fully retracted, ensuring absolute silence. Nature is unpredictable. A sudden micro-shift in the coastal wind alters the airflow. Instantly, the tiger's chemical signature is carried directly into the boar's highly sensitive snouts. The boar's olfactory receptors process the predator's scent in milliseconds. A massive adrenaline dump floods their system. Forced to react, the tiger abandons stealth. Its fast twitch muscles fire simultaneously, releasing the stored elastic energy to launch 200 kilograms forward. The kinetic chase officially begins. The ambush explodes into a high-speed pursuit. Propelled by massive muscle contractions, the 200-kilogram predator accelerates to 60 kilometers per hour in seconds. But this is a biological ticking clock. It must secure the kill before lactic acid paralyzes its legs. But an apex predator is built to bypass chaos. The tiger's visual cortex instantly filters the distractions, locking onto a single, slightly slower individual. The death sentence is signed. Every ounce of kinetic energy is now laser-focused on this one prey. The violent transaction is complete. The rest of the herd survives another day, leaving the weakest behind. For the tiger, this blood-soaked victory provides a massive influx of calories, fueling its reign over the unforgiving coastal scrub. Driven by deep-rooted instincts, the apex predator seeks the sanctuary of the dense scrub. It claims a hidden refuge, a quiet space where the lingering scent of the hunt can safely dissolve into the evening breeze. In the pitch-black canopy, a marvel of evolution illuminates the dark. Under this gentle glow, the sovereign of the scrub quietly watches over the sleeping forest. A brilliant surge of sunlight ignites the ancient Wili Wili canopy, awakening the rugged volcanic slopes of Hawaii. Sheltered behind massive peaks that block the rain clouds, this rare dry forest isn't barren on the sun-baked basalt. Instead, it explodes with drought-resistant vitality. Bathed in this sun-drenched arena, a female pheasant orchestrates her reproductive cycle. As a ground nesting specialist, she merges seamlessly with the arid soil, utilizing precise optical camouflage. The dry earth vibrates. A feral pig, an introduced species, patrols the underbrush. Unlike native predators, this opportunist relies on sheer brute force, constantly overturning the delicate soil. It is blind to the pheasant's perfect visual camouflage. Instead, it navigates using a highly advanced olfactory system. The cartilaginous disc on its snout functions as an organic radar. While rooting for tubers, it can detect the faint calcium and protein signatures of hidden eggs from remarkable distances. Every snort draws in thousands of chemical cues, mapping a three-dimensional world of scents, and it is closing the distance. For the mother bird, evolution is suddenly working against her. Her plumage hides her from the eyes of hawks, but offers zero protection against a hungry mammal's nose. Only feet away, a massive shadow looms. Inside the pheasant, a physiological storm is brewing. Adrenaline floods her bloodstream. Her avian heart rate spikes to over 400 beats per minute. Yet, the instinct to protect her brood commands her muscles to stay completely paralyzed. Every muscle fiber of the mother bird is coiled at its physiological limit, yet she anchors firmly to the clutch. The pig pauses, locking onto the exact scent vector. The invisible shield has shattered. Now, the mother pheasant bypasses the pig's thick hide, striking directly at the snout, a concentrated cluster of hypersensitive nerve endings designed for foraging, now turned into its greatest vulnerability. Overwhelmed by the razor-sharp precision and the explosive ferocity of a fractional opponent, the massive intruder panics and retreats. In the dry forest, maternal instinct just rewrote the hierarchy of power. After nearly 4 weeks of relentless thermal regulation, the calcium fortresses begin to fracture. Using a temporary specialized structure called an egg tooth, the chicks painstakingly breach their shells, stepping from the dark incubator into the blinding Hawaiian sun. Within hours, the intense radiation of the dry forest bakes their plumage. The mother orchestrates their first assembly, using a series of low-frequency clucks. This acts as a critical acoustic tether, triggering an irreversible biological imprinting process. Pheasants are an extreme example of precocial development. Unlike altricial species born blind and helpless, these chicks emerge fully cloaked in insulating down. Their visual cortex and motor systems are pre-activated for immediate mobility. Their survival depends on an immediate energy return. The mother teaches them to micro-forage. Here, standing water is non-existent. Their targets are hidden seeds and moisture-rich arthropods, providing the potent protein and vital hydration required to endure the heat. The chicks instinctively mimic their mother's precise movements, learning to blend their disruptive coloration against the dappled shadows. They are miniature ghosts in training. But the dry forest is never truly safe. As the sun climbs higher, shifting thermal winds carry the fragile scent of the newborn chicks across the landscape, and in this unforgiving ecosystem, vulnerability is an open invitation. From the shadows, a new predator is already tracking their coordinates. The real battle for survival is just beginning. In the dappled shade of a willow-willy tree, a pair of eyes locks onto the vulnerable flock. This is the feral cat, an apex ambush predator introduced to an island that never evolved to defend against it. To close the distance in a forest filled with brittle, dry leaves, the feline utilizes a masterpiece of anatomical engineering. It lowers its center of gravity. Soft digital pads on its paws absorb acoustic vibrations, while free-floating collarbones allow it to glide fluidly through the dense brush. For a visual predator, erratic motion is a fatal biological trigger. The chicks, barely hours old, are completely unaware. Their micro-foraging movements stimulate the cat's hyper-reactive visual cortex. With forward-facing eyes, the feline calculates exact binocular depth perception, mapping a precise trajectory for a lethal strike. While the oblivious chicks rustle through brittle leaves, unwittingly creating an acoustic mask, the cat employs a strategy known as direct registering. By placing its hind paws exactly into the prints of its front paws, it closes in on the young, reducing its acoustic footprint to absolute zero. A few chicks have unknowingly breached the safety perimeter. The distance to the fragile targets is now reduced to mere meters. The feline's muscles coil like biological springs, storing massive potential energy in its hindquarters. The gaze is locked onto the straggler. The ambush is set. The mother pheasant becomes a wall of feathers and fury, launching a barrage of metatarsal kicks. These keratin-sheathed spurs are driven by powerful leg muscles, turning a ground-nesting bird into a formidable combatant. Faced with blinding strikes to its facial nerves and an overwhelming display of maternal aggression, the feline recalculates the risk. The element of surprise is gone. The mammalian assassin concedes defeat, retreating into the shifting shadows of the dry forest. The immediate threat dissolves. As the Hawaiian sun dips towards the horizon, ambient temperatures in the dry forest begin to plummet. Casting a golden hue over the basalt rocks, the mother pheasant emits a soft, low-frequency cluck. This specific acoustic release signals the all-clear, successfully disengaging the chick's neurobiological freeze response. One by one, they emerge from the shadows. The reunion is swift and silent. The mother pheasant conducts a rapid visual inventory of her brood, ensuring no casualties. Following the massive adrenaline spike, they engage in synchronized preening, a vital comfort behavior that realigns their feathers and actively flushes stress hormones from their systems. Basking in the fading thermal warmth, the brood actively absorbs the last of the solar radiation to stabilize their core temperature before nightfall. This tiny family has just defied the brutal mortality rates of the leeward slopes. In this sun-baked theater of survival, an uncompromising maternal instinct ensures that tomorrow, life marches on. Dawn on the savannah. Ambient temperature sits at 18 degrees Celsius. This is the optimal thermodynamic window for apex endurance hunters. The African wild dog, Lycaon pictus. Their oversized ears are not just acoustic radars, they are dense capillary networks functioning as thermoregulators, dissipating core heat during prolonged high-speed pursuits. Navigating the tall grass, the pack engages in active environmental processing. Their binocular vision and directional hearing overlap. Operating in this dispersed line, they create a synchronized sensory grid, detecting the slightest kinetic shift in the savannah. The yellow stalks provide effective camouflage for herbivores. In response, this wide frontal assault acts as a biological net, mechanically designed to flush concealed targets out of the brush. High-frequency twitters synchronize their positioning without alerting larger prey. The pack fundamentally alters its operational mode. High-speed pursuit parameters are deactivated. They lower their center of gravity, adopting a predatory crawl. They are now operating entirely in stealth. Their objective is elevated, a basalt outcrop, a natural geological stronghold that serves as a thermal sink during the night and a tactical fortress by day. Here, a troop of olive baboons, numbering over 40 individuals, has established their high-ground sanctuary. The early morning light initiates a critical neurochemical protocol within the baboon troop, allogrooming. This behavior transcends physical hygiene. The tactile stimulation triggers the release of endorphins and oxytocin, simultaneously lowering cortisol levels while solidifying their complex hierarchical alliances. A troop of this density presents a formidable defensive matrix. The adult males act as perimeter sentinels. Biologically equipped with canines measuring up to 5 centimeters exceeding those of a leopard, they represent a lethal, high-risk variable for any approaching predator. Even after the allogrooming protocol, the troop remains anchored to the basalt outcrop. This elevated topography provides a dual biological advantage: maximum solar exposure to rapidly elevate their core body temperature after the cold savanna night, and an unobstructed 360-degree visual sweep of the surrounding biome. Within this high-ground sanctuary, internal hierarchy dictates spatial positioning. The dominant alpha males occupy the outermost perimeters. Functioning as an early warning radar system, their binocular vision scans the yellow grass for kinetic anomalies. Their physical presence deters terrestrial threats from attempting a vertical assault. In the protected center, juveniles engage in high-energy mock combat. This is not merely play, it is a critical neurological simulation. They are developing the fast-twitch muscle fibers and spatial awareness required to survive future predator encounters. All while constant low-frequency vocalizations maintain an acoustic tether between the 40 individuals. For the baboons, every day is a biological war, caught between caloric starvation and the savannah's hidden threats. Every decision is a calculated risk. Here, one miscalculation means death. Below the outcrop, the wild dogs remain locked in their stealth formation. A direct upward charge against an alert baboon troop is biologically unviable. The canines are engaged in a game of thermodynamic patience, waiting for a single juvenile or subadult to miscalculate their spatial boundaries and step too close to the precipice. An underdeveloped threat perception overrides survival instincts. Driven by a caloric deficit, a naive juvenile steps outside the troop's safety zone, a fatal geometric error. The sensory trigger is pulled. The wild dogs instantly transition from stealth to maximum kinetic output, deploying a synchronized intercept trajectory. Through a suffocating high-speed encirclement, the juvenile is forced into a dead end fractions of a second before the alpha males can unleash a counter-strike. In a desperate biomechanical reflex, the juvenile exploits the canine's anatomical limitation, a lack of arboreal adaptation. It ascends a solitary acacia, a temporary vertical refuge. From the high branches, the juvenile emits a high decibel distress frequency. This is not merely a cry of fear. It is a highly evolved acoustic beacon designed to pierce the savannah's ambient noise. It carries a specific biometric signature, triggering a hardwired neurochemical alarm within the troop. The acoustic signal triggers an instant adrenaline cascade. Abandoning all foraging protocols, the alpha males mobilize into an offensive phalanx. Driven to protect their genetic investment, a multi-ton wave of primate muscle and lethal canines surges toward the tree. The siege is shattered by sheer, overwhelming kinetic force. The collision is instantaneous. Driven by kin selection, the alpha males unleash a blunt force trauma assault. Wielding 5-centimeter canines, this multi-ton wave of primate muscle shatters the dog's siege protocol. It is an asymmetrical territorial defense, neutralizing the threat in seconds and safely retrieving the juvenile. Outweighed and outweaponized, the canine neurocircuitry abruptly switches from predatory aggression to absolute panic. In the ruthless economics of the savannah, a primate bite means septicemia and certain death. The pack dissolves into an uncoordinated retreat. But surviving the counterattack is only their first hurdle. As the adrenaline crash hits, a terrifying physiological reality sets in. They have expended a massive amount of metabolic energy for a zero-caloric return. Scattering into the dry grass, the pack's highly organized neural network devolves into a chaotic flight response. Hyperventilating and visibly panicked, the wild dogs are consumed by a profound behavioral trauma. The immediate terror of the primate's blunt force counterstrike quickly morphs into an existential dread. Their biological clock is now ticking exponentially faster. Prolonged starvation will inevitably compromise their immune systems and shatter their coordinated hunting matrix. This single disastrous ambush has pushed the terrified canines to the absolute brink of caloric bankruptcy. While the baboons stabilize their acoustic tether, the desperate dogs must keep moving, haunted by the savannah's ultimate apex equation: hunt successfully or perish. This is not a tactical withdrawal. It is a blind, adrenaline-fueled rout. Tails tucked and ears pinned flat, classic morphological markers of acute subordination. They scramble erratically over the abrasive terrain. The pack's collective mind has been hijacked by the reptilian brain, driven purely by a singular imperative: put maximum distance between themselves and the primate fury. Deep within the troop's concentric core, a maternal reunion occurs. The mother retrieves her juvenile. This intense tactile interaction allogrooming triggers a massive release of oxytocin, effectively degrading the residual cortisol from the morning's trauma. The troop's fractured social matrix is chemically and physically seamlessly repaired. As the solar angle diminishes, the savanna undergoes a rapid thermodynamic shift. The diurnal cycle draws to a close. For the Papio anubis troop, this diminishing light signals an immediate behavioral transition, abandoning all foraging protocols to retreat into an elevated nocturnal fortress. As the earth tilts back toward the sun, a fragile truce is bathed in gold. The deep chill of the night slowly dissolves, allowing the entire ecosystem to begin its daily cycle of thermal respiration. Life is already in motion. Yet, in these low-light hours, vision is easily deceived. Survival relies on an ancient biological radar, every creature decoding the subtle chemical signatures carried by the morning breeze. It appears perfectly serene, but on the savanna, peace is often just an optical illusion. Even awake, resting within the mother's physical perimeter maintains a parasympathetic baseline. This lowers the cub's heart rates, conserving critical metabolic energy before mobilizing. Even in the heart of the sun-baked African savanna, the riverbank creates a localized microclimate. The damp earth offers a crucial thermal refuge from the surrounding extreme solar radiation. An adult female exhibits a classic state of energy conservation. By lowering her basal metabolic rate during peak daylight, she preserves vital adenosine triphosphate, the chemical energy required for anaerobic hunting sprints. Through controlled grappling, the lions learn bite inhibition and calibrate their center of gravity. Every interaction stimulates neuroplasticity, wiring the predatory circuits of their developing brains. Hydration demands immense vulnerability. As the adult female lowers her head to drink, her peripheral vision is severely compromised. While the young lion rapidly depletes its anaerobic reserves fighting the current, the apex reptile executes a zero-wake approach, a lethal masterclass in hydrostatic stealth. Trapped in the kill zone, the exhausted cub is milliseconds from structural failure. Propelled by its undulating tail, the crocodile closes in, nictitating membranes shielding its corneas. In a fraction of a second, the cub is violently extracted from the aquatic strike zone, demonstrating the absolute biological imperative of safeguarding genetic investment. Breaking the surface, the illusion of aquatic buoyancy gives way to crushing terrestrial gravity. The lioness hauls her saturated cub onto the embankment, overpowering the drag of the mud. Back on solid earth, the immediate peril washes away with the river water. The lioness gently guides her soaked cub into the safety of the tall, sun-baked grass. Here, the frantic rhythm of survival finally slows. Their racing heartbeats gradually settle, syncing once more with the gentle pulse of the savanna. The rest of the litter gathers close. This physical warmth and shared scent reaffirm their bond, wrapping the young in an invisible blanket of absolute security. far from the river's sanctuary, the vast expanse of the savannah bakes under the zenith of the equatorial sun. Here, the thermal dynamics shift. Rising heat waves distort the horizon, creating an optical mirage that masks the relentless engine of survival. For millions of other inhabitants, there is no reprieve. The biological arms race marches on, hidden in plain sight amidst the swaying golden grass. Under the harsh glare of the rising sun, the pride enters a period of metabolic recovery. The cubs nurse, drawing upon highly concentrated, lipid-rich milk essential for their rapid cortical development. But this maternal investment carries a steep physiological cost. Every ounce of nourishment transferred to her offspring pushes the lioness closer to a critical energy deficit. Survival now dictates a harsh calculation. To sustain them, the mother lion must leave them. The lioness caches the litter in dense cover, relying on their instinctive stillness and camouflaged rosettes to evade diurnal predators. Shedding the role of a nurturing mother, her musculoskeletal system locks into stealth mode. The peaceful interlude is over. The daylight pursuit of calories has begun. The lioness initiates a complex visual sweep. She is not merely observing, she is actively processing a dynamic data set of biomechanics from the grazing herd ahead. The lioness's binocular vision isolates an initial target, but a rapid biomechanical assessment reveals the energy cost would be too high. The lioness aborts this option, shifting focus to scan the herd for a more nutrient-dense alternative. The lioness drastically lowers her physical profile, merging with the sun-scorched grass while preloading her muscles for explosive speed. Every step forward is an act of precise biomechanical control. The lioness has locked onto a suitable nutritional target. Ahead, spotted hyenas dismantle a fresh wildebeest. Their massive jaws generate crushing force, shearing through solid bone to access nutrient-rich marrow. The lioness watches, calculating the risk. Stealing this kill from the hyenas, a behavior known as kleptoparasitism, bypasses the severe physical exhaustion of a hunt, but confronting an agitated clan carries the threat of fatal injury. The carcass's caloric value outweighs the risk. The lioness locks onto the feeding hyenas, deciding to use superior mass and psychological shock to shatter the clan's formation. Fast-twitch muscle fibers ignite, launching the lioness into a full anaerobic sprint to violently scatter the hyenas and claim the prize. The lioness breaches the perimeter, utilizing massive momentum to scatter the first line of hyenas. Spotted hyenas are highly evolved for mobbing. The clan regroups, attempting to flank the lioness and target vulnerable hindquarters to sever crucial tendons. A high-stakes tactical defense begins. The lioness pivots aggressively, keeping heavily muscled forequarters facing the attackers. A single swipe from the lioness's claws can deliver a lethal laceration. The kleptoparasitic raid succeeds. As the hyenas retreat, the exhausted lioness secures the wildebeest carcass. The critical proteins and lipids gained here will sustain the lioness's hidden cubs. Panting to regulate core temperature, the lioness assesses the wildebeest carcass. Securing this massive caloric yield triggers a state of deep biological satisfaction. Securing a firm cervical grip, the lioness utilizes immense shoulder strength to haul the dead weight. Dragging a carcass heavier than her own mass requires phenomenal anaerobic exertion over the rough terrain. The cub's digestive systems are in an active state of transition, supplementing lipid-rich maternal milk with easily digestible, iron-heavy organ meat. Specialized carnassial teeth shear through dense muscle fibers, rapidly converting raw protein into vital growth. Within this unforgiving ecosystem, securing such a massive caloric prize guarantees the family's survival for another few critical days. As the Earth's rotation obscures the sun, Rayleigh scattering paints the savanna in low-frequency red and orange wavelengths. The intense thermal energy of the day rapidly dissipates into the cooling atmosphere. For the lioness, the creeping twilight signals a critical tactical advantage. Behind the retinas, a specialized reflective layer, the tapetum lucidum, amplifies the gathering of residual photons, perfectly calibrating visual perception for the nocturnal hunt. The savanna transitions entirely from a visual landscape to an acoustic and olfactory battlefield. Under the heavy cover of darkness, survival is no longer dictated by who can see, but by who can sense the unseen. The savanna is not merely a landscape, it is a thermodynamic engine. Here, sunlight is the primary currency, driving a relentless biological economy. For apex predators, hunting is not an act of malice, but a strict calculation, waiting for the exact moment to seize that energy with minimal caloric waste. On these plains, herbivores act as living energy converters, guarded by a hypersensitive sensory network. As midday solar radiation peaks, the savanna's thermodynamics drastically shift. Optically, this arid matrix appears as a static, lifeless void, but this profound emptiness is a physical illusion. To survive, the flora utilizes microphyllae, minimizing leaf surface areas to halt transpiration and lock in cellular moisture. Navigating this arid matrix, herbivores optimize metabolic efficiency. Warthogs target underground tubers. These roots act as biological vaults, storing essential water and starch. Their cartilaginous snouts function as specialized excavators. A lioness's massive muscular frame generates lethal internal heat. By entering a state of deep metabolic conservation, she is actively supercharging her fast-twitch muscle fibers with glycogen. She is banking explosive kinetic energy, waiting for the thermal waves to dissipate and the perfect acoustic blind spot to open. Driven by the pressure of caloric intake, the warthog's biological radar is neutralized. The friction of excavating dry earth creates an auditory mask, perfectly concealing the approaching predator. The lioness utilizes retractable claws and specialized digital pads to absorb shock, effectively muting her footfalls across the brittle terrain. Relying on disruptive coloration to blend with the sun-bleached grass, she calculates the critical strike distance while navigating strictly downwind, ensuring her olfactory signature is blown away from the prey. The acoustic mask drops. Propelled by an explosive contraction of fast-twitch muscle fibers, the lioness accelerates to 80 kilometers per hour. The warthog's head snaps up, instantly flooding its visual cortex with the reality of the ambush. Panic triggers a massive adrenaline dump. The warthog flees with its tail erect, a biological flag coordinating the herd's chaotic dispersal. It employs erratic lateral evasion to shatter the feline's linear momentum. Igniting a spectacular high-speed pursuit, the warthog leverages evasive stamina, while the lion's ambush-engineered anatomy rapidly hits the anaerobic threshold, flooding her muscles with debilitating lactic acid. Plunging straight into a deep subterranean hole, the warthog completely removes itself from the surface battlefield. By retreating into the dark depths, it secures a definitive spatial advantage. The lioness aggressively reaches down the pit, but a feline's retractable claws are engineered for surface grappling, not heavy excavation. Safe in the depths, the warthog expands its ribcage, wedging its body against the earthen walls with immense isometric force. The lioness reaches blindly into the dark shaft, desperate to hook her prey. But the warthog has retreated deeper, moving well beyond the maximum extension of the feline's forelimbs. Her specialized claws swipe at empty dirt, completely failing to make contact. Confronted by this stark anatomical limit, the apex predator is rendered entirely powerless. Unable to extract a target she cannot even reach, she absorbs the metabolic loss and walks away, defeated by the sheer depth of the earth. Only when the surface vibrations fade does the warthog break its subterranean silence. A cautious snout emerges first, performing a rigorous olfactory sweep to definitively confirm the predator's scent has dissipated. Stepping back into the fading light, the animal undergoes a rapid physiological reset. The parasympathetic nervous system engages, flushing out residual cortisol and decelerating a heart rate that was just pushed to its absolute biological limits. As the golden hour washes over the arid scrub, the brush with death is simply swallowed by the dusk. The cycle resets, and another day is won in this perfectly balanced, ruthless matrix. Antarctica, a continent isolated by the unforgiving circumpolar current, holding 70% of Earth's fresh water within a frozen desert. Here, the cryosphere dictates all biological rhythms. During winter, the sea ice expands to cover an area larger than the continent itself, effectively doubling Earth's reflective surface. This extreme albedo effect plummets temperatures drastically, while the rapid cooling of high-altitude air generates relentless katabatic winds that sculpt the frozen topography. Yet, this freezing and dynamic matrix is far from a dead zone. Nutrient-rich upwellings driven by the ice mechanics fuel a massive hidden marine ecosystem beneath the surface. Piercing the ice canopy reveals a subglacial realm where the physical rules of survival are entirely rewritten. Here, the ocean remains liquid at sub-zero temperatures, stabilized by extreme salinity and crushing hydrostatic pressure. In this twilight zone, the base of the food web operates entirely suspended in the water column. Vast clouds of drifting microorganisms are systematically harvested by highly efficient filter-feeding swarms, instantly converting primary biomass into dense, mobile protein. To inhabit this freezing abyss, the residents have evolved biochemical miracles. Many predators circulate antifreeze glycoproteins within their bloodstream, preventing the crystallization of cellular fluids while operating at a radically reduced metabolic pace. This subglacial ocean operates not as a chaotic battleground, but as a synchronized ecological network. There is no wasted motion, ensuring absolute efficiency in a resource-limited habitat. Beneath the static, frozen shell of Antarctica, a finely tuned biological engine quietly sustains the perpetual cycle of life. Vision loses its power in these dark depths. Survival now depends on an extraordinary sensitivity to water movement. Both predators and prey feel the faintest vibrations, reading invisible waves to pinpoint each other in the pitch black. On the ice, the colony acts as a single thermal regulatory unit. Tightly huddling minimizes their surface area, creating a microclimate to resist extreme heat loss. But their high metabolic rates demand constant refueling. Leaping into the freezing ocean to hunt, the penguins transform instantly. Water pressure compresses their feathers, shifting their biomechanics, turning clumsy walkers into streamlined, high-speed marine predators in pursuit of prey. Plunging into the deep triggers an extreme biological response. Their heart rate plummets from 200 to just 20 beats per minute, heavily conserving internal oxygen for a prolonged hunt. Capture is instantaneous. Backward-facing barbs inside their beaks secure the struggling catch. They consume the biomass mid-swim, maintaining a flawless hydrodynamic profile to seamlessly continue the assault. Above the waterline, there is no biological refuge. Relentless katabatic winds strip heat instantly from any exposed tissue, enforcing a brutal thermodynamic rule. In Antarctica, the surface is never a sanctuary. It is only a brief necessity. In the shadows of the ice, a completely different biological machine awaits. The seal utilizes countershading, a dark dorsal profile that renders it virtually invisible against the deep abyss. It does not rely solely on sight. Highly innervated vibrissae on its snout detect the exact hydrodynamic wakes left by the swimming penguins, tracking their spatial signatures in the water. Positioned below, It exploits the bird's visual blind spots. Locking onto their trajectory, the predator converts its massive mass into kinetic energy, executing a sudden lethal vertical strike. The pursuit ignites. The seal propels its massive frame forward, overcoming immense water resistance through raw muscular output. In open water, its top speed rivals the penguin's, turning the ocean into a high-speed ballistic corridor. But the penguin holds a critical biomechanical advantage, a superior turning radius. Possessing lower mass and inertia, the bird executes hairpin maneuvers. It uses its stiff tail and flippers as hydrodynamic rudders to abruptly alter its vector. The seal's greater mass becomes a physical liability in sharp turns. However, it compensates with sheer acceleration. This relentless chase pushes both animals into anaerobic respiration. Lactic acid floods their muscles as they burn through their finite oxygen reserves. This is a contest defined by fractions of a second. Survival is no longer just about speed, but about outlasting the predator's physiological limits. In this evolutionary arms race, every micro-adjustment determines who survives and who fuels the ecosystem. The high-speed pursuit is abruptly shattered by a tectonic shift in water pressure. Low-frequency infrasound vibrations capable of traveling hundreds of kilometers reverberates through the seal's skeletal structure. Something colossal is ascending from the abyssal zone. The blue whale, the largest biological mass ever to exist on Earth. While its anatomy dictates a strict diet of krill, not seals, its sheer scale turns the ocean into a hazardous vortex. It has arrived to exploit the exact same nutrient-dense swarms that drew the smaller predators here. Executing a massive kinematic lunge, the Leviathan unhinges its jaws. Its ventral pleats expand exponentially, engulfing up to 90 tons of water and biomass in mere seconds. The seal is instantly caught, not targeted as prey, but trapped as collateral damage within this catastrophic hydrostatic vacuum. Battling a hydrodynamic pull equivalent to a violent undertow, the seal must abort its own hunt, pushing its anaerobic threshold to the absolute limit. It uses maximum muscular torque to propel itself out of the engulfment zone, escaping just milliseconds before the dense baleen plates clamp shut. The predator becomes the fugitive, In the hyper-competitive waters of the Southern Ocean, survival is dictated not only by speed and agility, but by navigating the indifferent, overwhelming mechanics of the ocean's true titans. The light fades, and the polar night reclaims the ice. Above, a frozen, absolute silence. But below, the biological pulse never stops. In the deep dark of Antarctica, the brutal ballet of survival dances on. A brilliant surge of sunlight ignites the ancient Wili Wili canopy, awakening the rugged volcanic slopes of Hawaii. Sheltered behind massive peaks that block the rain clouds, this rare dry forest isn't barren on the sun-baked basalt. Instead, it explodes with drought-resistant vitality. Bathed in this sun-drenched arena, a female pheasant orchestrates her reproductive cycle. As a ground nesting specialist, she merges seamlessly with the arid soil, utilizing precise optical camouflage. The dry earth vibrates. A feral pig, an introduced species, patrols the underbrush. Unlike native predators, this opportunist relies on sheer brute force, constantly overturning the delicate soil. It is blind to the pheasant's perfect visual camouflage. Instead, it navigates using a highly advanced olfactory system. The cartilaginous disc on its snout functions as an organic radar. While rooting for tubers, it can detect the faint calcium and protein signatures of hidden eggs from remarkable distances. Every snort draws in thousands of chemical cues, mapping a three-dimensional world of scents, and it is closing the distance. For the mother bird, evolution is suddenly working against her. Her plumage hides her from the eyes of hawks, but offers zero protection against a hungry mammal's nose. Only feet away, a massive shadow looms. Inside the pheasant, a physiological storm is brewing. Adrenaline floods her bloodstream. Her avian heart rate spikes to over 400 beats per minute. Yet, the instinct to protect her brood commands her muscles to stay completely paralyzed. Every muscle fiber of the mother bird is coiled at its physiological limit, yet she anchors firmly to the clutch. The pig pauses, locking onto the exact scent vector. The invisible shield has shattered. Now, the mother pheasant bypasses the pig's thick hide, striking directly at the snout, a concentrated cluster of hypersensitive nerve endings designed for foraging, now turned into its greatest vulnerability. Overwhelmed by the razor-sharp precision and the explosive ferocity of a fractional opponent, the massive intruder panics and retreats. In the dry forest, maternal instinct just rewrote the hierarchy of power. After nearly 4 weeks of relentless thermal regulation, the calcium fortresses begin to fracture. Using a temporary specialized structure called an egg tooth, the chicks painstakingly breach their shells, stepping from the dark incubator into the blinding Hawaiian sun. Within hours, the intense radiation of the dry forest bakes their plumage. The mother orchestrates their first assembly, using a series of low-frequency clucks. This acts as a critical acoustic tether, triggering an irreversible biological imprinting process. Pheasants are an extreme example of precocial development. Unlike altricial species born blind and helpless, these chicks emerge fully cloaked in insulating down. Their visual cortex and motor systems are pre-activated for immediate mobility. Their survival depends on an immediate energy return. The mother teaches them to micro-forage. Here, standing water is non-existent. Their targets are hidden seeds and moisture-rich arthropods, providing the potent protein and vital hydration required to endure the heat. The chicks instinctively mimic their mother's precise movements, learning to blend their disruptive coloration against the dappled shadows. They are miniature ghosts in training. But the dry forest is never truly safe. As the sun climbs higher, shifting thermal winds carry the fragile scent of the newborn chicks across the landscape. And in this unforgiving ecosystem, vulnerability is an open invitation. From the shadows, a new predator is already tracking their coordinates. The real battle for survival is just beginning. In the dappled shade of a willow-willy tree, a pair of eyes locks onto the vulnerable flock. This is the feral cat, an apex ambush predator introduced to an island that never evolved to defend against it. To close the distance in a forest filled with brittle, dry leaves, the feline utilizes a masterpiece of anatomical engineering. It lowers its center of gravity. Soft digital pads on its paws absorb acoustic vibrations, while free-floating collarbones allow it to glide fluidly through the dense brush. For a visual predator, erratic motion is a fatal biological trigger. The chicks, barely hours old, are completely unaware. Their micro-foraging movements stimulate the cat's hyper-reactive visual cortex. With forward-facing eyes, the feline calculates exact binocular depth perception, mapping a precise trajectory for a lethal strike. While the oblivious chicks rustle through brittle leaves, unwittingly creating an acoustic mask, the cat employs a strategy known as direct registering. By placing its hind paws exactly into the prints of its front paws, it closes in on the young, reducing its acoustic footprint to absolute zero. A few chicks have unknowingly breached the safety perimeter. The distance to the fragile targets is now reduced to mere meters. The feline's muscles coil like biological springs, storing massive potential energy in its hindquarters. The gaze is locked onto the straggler. The ambush is set. The mother pheasant becomes a wall of feathers and fury, launching a barrage of metatarsal kicks. These keratin-sheathed spurs are driven by powerful leg muscles, turning a ground-nesting bird into a formidable combatant. Faced with blinding strikes to its facial nerves and an overwhelming display of maternal aggression, the feline recalculates the risk. The element of surprise is gone. The mammalian assassin concedes defeat, retreating into the shifting shadows of the dry forest. The immediate threat dissolves. As the Hawaiian sun dips towards the horizon, ambient temperatures in the dry forest begin to plummet. Casting a golden hue over the basalt rocks, the mother pheasant emits a soft, low-frequency cluck. This specific acoustic release signals the all-clear, successfully disengaging the chick's neurobiological freeze response. One by one, they emerge from the shadows. The reunion is swift and silent. The mother pheasant conducts a rapid visual inventory of her brood, ensuring no casualties. Following the massive adrenaline spike, they engage in synchronized preening, a vital comfort behavior that realigns their feathers and actively flushes stress hormones from their systems. Basking in the fading thermal warmth, the brood actively absorbs the last of the solar radiation to stabilize their core temperature before nightfall. This tiny family has just defied the brutal mortality rates of the leeward slopes. In this sun-baked theater of survival, an uncompromising maternal instinct ensures that tomorrow, life marches on.
Along the Alaska-Canada border, the winter taiga is not just a frozen wasteland. It is a crystalline acoustic battlefield. At -40 degrees, extreme air density completely alters the physics of sound. The frozen snowpack functions as a massive sensory web. Every footfall generates seismic microvibrations that carry for miles. To hunt in this labyrinth, predators must master the science of structural dampening. But this absolute stealth carries an exorbitant metabolic cost. For the mother lynx, delivering a kitten into a subarctic winter is a biological paradox. The newborn lynx emerges encased in amniotic fluid, facing instant, lethal hypothermia in the frigid air. Securing her kitten in the thermal safety of the den, the mother lynx steps back into the frozen void to hunt for crucial calories.
Navigating the frozen taiga, the mother lynx shifts into active predation. Her stalk is a masterclass in biomechanical fluid dynamics. She is in constant motion, yet completely tethered to the silence of the forest. Despite her mass, she moves like a phantom. Her oversized, densely furred paws function as biological snowshoes, maximizing surface area to minimize ground pressure, preventing the fragile snow crust from fracturing beneath her weight. Safely tucked away in the den, her kitten waits. It relies strictly on the combustion of brown adipose tissue, a localized biological furnace that staves off lethal hypothermia without the need for shivering. High above the frozen canopy, an apex aerial assassin owns the night. The great horned owl utilizes serrated feather edges to slice through aerodynamic turbulence, effectively erasing all acoustic frequencies of its flight. It doesn't rely on vision alone. Asymmetrical ear cavities triangulate the faintest micro-vibrations on the forest floor, locking onto a target's exact coordinates with mathematical precision before the prey even registers a threat.
While the mother lynx is miles away, a fatal biological misstep occurs. The kitten breaches the den's insulating barrier. The target is locked. Folding its wings to enter a free-fall dive, the owl strikes like a phantom. 4 needle-sharp talons pierce with crushing force, snatching the kitten from the snow and effortlessly carrying it into the frozen sky, leaving behind a deadly silence. The owl's flight path intersects with the diurnal apex predator, the golden eagle. In this frozen wasteland, calories are so scarce that the eagle engages in kleptoparasitism, the deliberate theft of another hunter's kill. Spotting the target with ultra-high-resolution vision, the eagle folds its wings into a ballistic dive. The kitten survives completely unharmed. Meanwhile, the aerial dogfight reaches its inevitable conclusion. Superior in sheer mass and kinetic power, the golden eagle completely overpowers the owl, claiming absolute dominance over the frozen sky. Guided by faint olfactory cues, the mother lynx finally tracks down her kitten. The reunion triggers a powerful surge of oxytocin. Stress hormones vanish as they restore their thermal bond, proving that in the brutal taiga, a mother's warmth is the ultimate sanctuary. Beyond the taiga, glacial peaks reflect solar radiation back into the atmosphere, locking the ecosystem in a permanent thermodynamic freeze. Yet, life here doesn't just endure the frost, it synchronizes with it. In this frozen world, Survival is the ultimate triumph of biological engineering, achieving perfect equilibrium with the absolute cold.
A realm forged in fractured stone and suffocating ice. Welcome to the roof of the world. Up here, oxygen is a luxury, and the cold is a ruthless executioner. Yet, clinging to the edge of the abyss, a herd of mountain goats, phantoms of the high alpine, navigating a 60-degree death drop as if it were a casual stroll. But surviving the extremes is only half the battle. This young goat drinks a liquid lifeline. The mother's fat-rich milk acts as a metabolic furnace. For the mountain antelope, extreme altitude is their armor. They retreat to these treacherous ridges to escape the jaws of ground-dwelling predators. Safe above the tree line, they believe they are untouchable. Enter the golden eagle, an apex avian assassin with a 7-foot wingspan, riding the invisible thermal updrafts with effortless, terrifying precision. Forced to cross deep snow, the antelope's greatest defense, their speed, is instantly stripped away. They are vulnerable. High above the clouds, the winged Terminator locks onto her target. The ambush is set. As the snow retreats, the brutal mountain reveals a softer side. This highland valley transforms from a frozen wasteland into a fleeting oasis of life. The warming sun triggers an explosion of nutrient-dense vegetation across the slopes, a temporary feast served on a grand scale. What looks like idle rest is actually hard metabolic work. They ruminate, maximizing the nutrient extraction from every single blade of grass. Emerging from months of winter fasting, the brown bear is driven by a singular, overwhelming urge, hyperphagia, an insatiable, biological need to consume. The river, it is a vital artery of life, but also a fiercely contested arena. Here, strict hierarchies dictate survival. Catching them requires explosive acceleration. Despite weighing over 800 pounds, a grizzly can strike with astonishing liquid speed. Each bear employs a distinct strategy. Some stand like statues, instinctively calculating the optical refraction of the water to gauge the exact depth of their prey. Others rely on brute force, pinning the muscular, slippery fish directly to the riverbed. In times of abundance, the bears become selective gourmets. They prioritize the skin, brains, and roe the parts richest in essential fats. Sated, the titans retreat to the shores. The frantic urgency subsides, replaced by the heavy lethargy of digestion. Driven by an insatiable biological imperative, this apex predator patrols the treacherous alpine slopes. Every calorie burned climbing must be replaced with flesh. The mountain goats detect a disturbance in the landscape. A massive silhouette breaking the horizon. The ambush breaks, accelerating with terrifying speed. The mother mountain goat and her young kid are driven to the absolute edge. They retreat onto a fragile, overhanging branch. The grizzly bear brings 1,000 pounds of lethal force, but physics is the ultimate equalizer. As the immediate threat dissipates, adrenaline slowly gives way to exhaustion. Bathed in the golden glow of the alpine sunset, the mother mountain goat and her young kid reclaim their sanctuary. In this unforgiving vertical kingdom, life is a delicate, razor-thin balance, where one calculated step dictates who lives to see another dawn. For months, this fractured Earth has endured a state of suspended animation. This is not merely a change in weather, but as barometric pressure plummets, a volatile chemical signal rides the incoming winds. It is a violent continent-wide biological awakening. Down below, the larger herbivores anchor themselves against the blinding dust squalls. They do not flee. High in the canopy, intricate avian architecture faces its ultimate mechanical stress test. Then, the atmospheric dam breaks. Millions of gallons of water crash against the parched soil, instantly supercooling the savannah and washing away months of desperate endurance. Amidst the deluge, a quiet biological marvel unfolds. Transforming her feathers into a living, hydrophobic canopy, she does not merely block the rain. She radiates life-saving endothermic heat, turning her own fragile body into an absolute sanctuary. As the storm's initial fury softens into a steady, life-giving rhythm, the savannah's smallest residents emerge from their sanctuaries. The deluge is no longer a threat. It is an evolutionary spa. Embracing the sudden moisture, they engage in a meticulous, instinctual ritual. As the storm clouds fracture, the saturated earth responds with an explosive biological bloom. The savannah is instantly flush with invertebrate life. Driven by the insatiable metabolic demands of their growing chicks, the parents are locked in an exhausting cycle of aerial foraging. Every delivery of high-yield protein is a delicate calculation of energy spent versus energy gained. Stretching along the eastern coast of Africa is Tanzania, a land dominated by the vast sun-baked plains of the savannah. Beneath the relentless heat, life carries on in a quiet rhythm, creating a fragile illusion of absolute peace. The antelopes are already on the move, gliding effortlessly across the vast plains. Their journey is a picture of quiet grace. With slender frames shaped by nature, every leap is light and rhythmic, moving in perfect harmony with the pulse of the earth. Not far away, a vast procession moves gently across the plains. The wildebeest. The rumble of their hooves sounds like the heartbeat of the earth, an eternal, peaceful cycle. Flowing with relentless grace, these wild waters carve a deep rift across the earth, a line of destiny they cannot refuse. For beneath its mesmerizing flow, a deadly test quietly waits. Right in the river, the apex predator is already in position, a giant crocodile. It doesn't chase, it calculates. Hidden beneath the murky surface, it waits for one fatal mistake. It doesn't chase, it calculates. Hidden beneath the murky surface, it waits for one fatal mistake. Thousands of wildebeest and antelopes crowd the steep, muddy banks, driven by an ancient urge to migrate, yet paralyzed by the raw, violent power of the surging currents. Panic ripples through the ranks. But the raging water is only a distraction. Below the surface, an ancient syndicate has formed, a congregation of giant crocodiles. Cold-blooded and perfectly adapted, they conserve every ounce of energy. Camouflaged against the riverbed, they form a living minefield. The ultimate ambush is set. Tension reaches a breaking point. It only takes one pioneer to shatter the hesitation. Instantly, blind herd mentality takes over. Hundreds launch themselves into the treacherous currents, completely unaware that they are jumping straight into the jaws of death. It is a chaotic frenzy of flailing hooves and panicked cries. Biologically, their hollow hair provides natural buoyancy, a vital adaptation for river crossings. But buoyancy offers no defense against what waits below. The churning rapids mask the silent, deadly approach of the apex predators. For the herd, the only focus is the opposite bank, but every second fighting the current drains their stamina. Blinded by the splashing white water and deafened by the roar of the herd, their keen senses are rendered utterly useless. They are swimming blind, offering the perfect cover for a prehistoric strike. They fight desperately to survive, but in this unforgiving river, their sheer will to live is leading them straight into the jaws of death. And the giant crocodiles do not rush. They are masters of calculating energy. There is no turning back. Propelled by the sheer weight of the endless herd behind them, thousands pour into the river like a living waterfall of flesh and bone. The water becomes instantly choked with bodies in panic. It is a spectacle of mass desperation, and for the waiting prehistoric giants, this is no longer a hunt. It is a feast delivered right to their domain. The giant crocodiles let the river do the heavy lifting. The trap has been sprung. In this brutal theater of nature, not everyone will make it to the other side. Panic erupts. The illusion of safety shatters as the river reveals its true nature. Beneath the surface, the strike is clinical and devastating. Giant crocodiles target the slender legs of their prey. A calculated tactic to instantly disable mobility, dragging them into the suffocating depths. The river turns into a boiling cauldron of predator and prey. With jaws exerting tons of pressure, the crocodiles lock on. The antelopes fight with every ounce of their being, but in this aquatic arena, raw, evolutionary power favors the reptiles. While some fall, the vast majority push forward. With one last surge, they scramble up the banks, escaping the river of death. The onslaught is relentless. The giant crocodiles execute the notorious death roll, a brutal display of biomechanical perfection. The will to live can defy the odds. In the savage theater of the savannah, surviving today is the ultimate victory. The crossing is over for these fortunate few. They have run the gauntlet and cheated death with the heavy physical toll of survival. Safety is a temporary luxury. Here, on solid ground, the herd enters a crucial phase of recovery. Families reunite. Mothers gently nuzzle their calves, verifying their survival through scent and touch. There is no time to look back, no time to mourn the fallen. In the relentless rhythm of the savannah, grief is an anchor the hunted cannot afford to carry. There is a profound resilience in this stillness. For these animals, healing is not a medical process, but a silent act of endurance. They rest not to linger, but to prepare for the miles still ahead. Soon, the chaotic energy is replaced by the peaceful, rhythmic sound of grazing. Eating is more than sustenance. It is a grounding mechanism. Each bite of grass helps rebuild depleted energy reserves and restores the tranquil rhythm of the herd. There is a profound resilience in this stillness. For these animals, healing is not a medical process, but a silent act of endurance. They rest not to linger, but to prepare for the miles still ahead. Instinct commands them to keep moving. To fall behind the herd is to invite the deadly attention of land predators. Their sheer resilience is the true masterpiece of evolution. As the golden hour descends, the African sun casts a warm, forgiving light over this harsh landscape. As the golden hour descends, the African sun casts a warm, forgiving light over this harsh landscape. Today, the river exacted its toll, nourishing the apex reptiles lurking below, but the herd endures. The Great Migration continues, an eternal cycle of sacrifice and survival, marching ever forward into the fading light. Here, life does not simply exist, it marches, and the wildebeest are the undeniable pulse of these plains. Gathered by the millions, they are driven by an ancient, inescapable biological clock. Right now, it dictates only one thing: refuel. In this shimmering heat, the herd appears entirely at peace. Their synchronized grazing engineers the savannah. By stripping the coarse stalks, they return vital nutrients to the exhausted earth. But on the savannah, peace is merely an illusion, a brief, fragile pause before the hunters awaken. Out here, a single misstep is a fatal liability. There is no compassion in the wild. In the brutal calculus of survival, the vulnerable simply become an involuntary shield for the strong. The savannah is not at peace. It is merely holding its breath. In the oppressive midday heat, the apex predators of the savannah appear remarkably subdued. A pride can sleep up to 20 hours a day. It is not lethargy, but a highly evolved strategy of energy conservation. But hunger is a persistent alarm clock, and the matriarchs are always the first to answer its call. Her amber eyes possess 6 times the light sensitivity of a human. She is not just observing, she is calculating distance and isolating the vulnerable. Every subtle shift in the wind is analyzed to mask her scent, and every tuft of dry grass is mapped as potential cover. The rest of the world fades away, leaving only the precise geometry of the impending ambush. A few hundred yards away, the wildebeest remain anchored in a false sense of security. The wind sweeps across the plains, carrying their scent directly to the predators, masking the danger downwind. The lion's muscles stretch, preparing for anaerobic bursts of speed. Every member of the pride instinctively understands their role in the complex geometry of the ambush. The syndicate is mobilized. The savannah is a theater of profound indifference. The sun beats down on the dry earth, oblivious to the drama about to unfold. In this vast arena, survival is dictated by mere inches and fractions of a second. Yet, beneath this tranquil facade, nature remains ruthlessly impartial. It takes no sides. It merely provides the stage for the drama ahead. The script has already been written by millions of years of evolution. All that is left is the execution. And on this stage, the opening act is about to be written in dust and instinct. And the lead predator is already in position. The lead lioness utilizes the sun-bleached grass as a perfect cloak of invisibility. Walking on her toes, she minimizes contact with the dry foliage. Her shoulder blades absorb the impact, ensuring complete silence. She becomes a ghost in the grass. Head lowered to the earth, the wildebeest's field of vision is drastically reduced, a fatal blind spot. The lioness must close the gap to within 30 yards. She presses her belly flat against the scorching earth, exploiting every minor depression in the terrain to stay completely out of sight. Suddenly, a shift in behavior. The chewing stops, the ears flick forward. Has a shifting breeze betrayed the hunters, or is it an instinctual premonition carved by millions of years of evolution? The tension becomes palpable, the silence is deafening. The lioness knows her cover is blown. Stealth must now be traded for explosive power. Her massive hind legs engage, propelling her forward with terrifying acceleration. The ambush is over. In a fraction of a second, the lioness's heart rate doubles, flooding her muscles with oxygen for the ultimate sprint. Her entire being is locked onto the target. From here on out, the slightest hesitation will turn a perfect ambush into total failure. The ancient dance of predator and prey has officially begun. The savannah shatters. Panic seizes the lone wildebeest, triggering a desperate flight for survival. The lioness erupts from the sun-scorched grass. At full sprint, she covers 50 feet a second. Her spine flexes like a coiled spring, maximizing each explosive stride. This is a deadly high-stakes race against her own rapidly rising body temperature. A collective wave of panic ripples through the herd, turning thousands of individuals into a single, fleeing organism. Panic seizes the lone wildebeest, triggering a desperate flight for survival. For the wildebeest, survival is brutally simple. You don't have to be the fastest in the herd, you just can't be the slowest. The swirling dust and a maze of galloping hooves are a defensive mechanism, designed to disorient the predator's focus. The gap closes. The impact is catastrophic. The lioness uses her formidable weight, nearly 300 pounds of pure muscle, and momentum to unbalance the fleeing wildebeest, grounding the heavy herbivore with calculated precision. The wildebeest's struggle inevitably subsides. The lioness clamps her powerful jaws over the prey's windpipe, applying hundreds of pounds of pressure to induce a swift, oxygen-deprived end to the ancient chase. This exhausting hunt is a triumph, securing a massive influx of calories, enough vital protein to sustain the lionesses for several days. The scent of a fresh wildebeest kill travels fast, acting as a beacon for opportunistic scavengers like hyenas and vultures. For now, however, the lion pride has earned its feast, metabolizing this vital energy to fuel the next generation of apex predators. The lion pride's feast begins. Nothing goes to waste on the savannah. To access the nutrient-rich meat, the lionesses must first breach the wildebeest's tough hide. They utilize specialized carnassial teeth at the back of their jaws, acting like biological shears to slice through thick skin and muscle with devastating efficiency. The hunters instinctively target the nutrient-dense internal organs first, the liver, heart, and kidneys, extracting maximum vitamins and trace minerals essential for their survival in this harsh environment. An adult lioness can consume up to a quarter of her own body weight in a single sitting. Her highly acidic stomach is perfectly adapted to rapidly digest massive quantities of raw protein, neutralizing potential pathogens found in the wild meat. As the pride gorges themselves, they are inadvertently preparing the carcass for the ecosystem's secondary consumers. Vultures and hyenas circle the perimeter, waiting for their turn at the ecological table. The wildebeest's sacrifice is converted into vital energy, ensuring the reign of these apex predators continues over this golden realm for another day. Mere hundreds of yards from the kill site, a jarring tranquility reclaims the savannah. The surviving wildebeest herd transitions instantly from primal panic to serene indifference. This rapid emotional reset is not callousness, but a vital evolutionary adaptation. Herbivores cannot afford to expend precious calories on lingering stress. In this wild kingdom, death is merely a brief interruption to the relentless rhythm of life. The Alaskan Peninsula, a subarctic wilderness shaped by relentless katabatic winds. Here, gale-force gusts sweep across the frozen tundra, driving chill factors down to minus 35 degrees Celsius. On these coastal fringes, survival is reduced to raw thermodynamics. Sub-zero katabatic winds strip away all warmth, turning ambient moisture into airborne ice needles at minus 35 degrees. Yet, across this frozen hell, a sole survivor moves an Alaskan red fox. This devoted father is on a critical mission.
Facing an uncompromising metabolic drain in sub-zero winds, providing enough high-protein lipids to maintain their core body temperature of 38 degrees is a matter of life and death. Every movement now carries the weight of a father's devotion. His whiskers harbor specialized tactile receptors, while an advanced olfactory system cuts through the storm, detecting the faint chemical signals of rodents buried beneath a meter of packed snow. But in a frozen wasteland where failure means starvation for his kits, smell alone isn't enough. Large, parabolic ears rotate independently to capture low-frequency acoustic vibrations. He is calculating the exact trajectory of a prey he cannot see, for the lives waiting in the den. Through a subniven snow pocket, the faint rustle of a tundra vole triggers the fox father's auditory system. Standing completely still, the father aligns his body along a northeast magnetic vector. The precise orientation where magnetic field mapping maximizes hunting accuracy to over 70%. Deep within a snow pocket, a tundra vole emerges, a vital primary consumer in the Arctic food web, converting sparse plant matter into high-energy fat. Detecting the subtle movement, the fox father enters a state of hyper-cautious stalking. Every muscle freezes. Any premature impulse would collapse the delicate snow crust and alert the prey. Tension mounts. The fox father creeps forward with extreme care, his furred paws treading silently on the snow crust. Tilting his head, his parabolic ears lock onto the sound while his brain maps it against Earth's magnetic grid. One wrong step will ruin the hunt and starve his family. The strike. Aligning with magnetic north for maximum precision, the father leaps in a steep parabolic arc. Driving his forelegs through the snow, his neuromuscular response, under 50 milliseconds, neutralizes the prey instantly. With no time to waste under the skin-cutting gale, he grips the catch and races back to avoid heat loss and coastal predators. Inside the haven, a brief sanctuary. The mother and kits consume the prey, converting calories into warmth and milk. No rest for the father. Leaving them safe, he steps back into the blizzard to continue the hunt. An apex rival, a solitary gray wolf uses the roaring gale as acoustic cover, masking its footsteps right above the den entrance. Driven by winter starvation, it frantically claws through the frozen crust, intent on excavating the helpless kits beneath. Maternal aggression triggers a surge of adrenaline. Standing between the intruder and her kits, the mother fox bares her sharp teeth. Narrow subterranean tunnels level the playing field, preventing the larger predator from leveraging its massive size.
Biting with blinding speed, the mother inflicts precise facial wounds on the wolf. In tight quarters, a fox's agility turns the narrow entry into a deadly hazard for an overextended invader.
The wolf has lost the battle. In this unforgiving wilderness, wasting precious energy on a futile fight means risking death by starvation. Humiliated and exhausted by the unyielding defense, the beaten predator slinks away, swallowed by the blinding blizzard.
Whiteout conditions engulf the tundra as a wall of ice-laden wind erases all visibility. Through this roaring white chaos, the fox father locks his sight on a flock of Arctic sparrows, hyper-alert targets, where a single, split-second error means returning empty-handed. Hunting small avian prey requires a radically different kinetic strategy. Unlike subterranean rodents, these sparrows alter their flight vectors in fractions of a second. To counter their fast wing beats, the father uses the howling wind as acoustic camouflage to close the distance. Bursting into a low-slung sprint, the father tracks their chaotic flight paths. Every muscle contracts like a compressed spring as his brain calculates their erratic mid-air trajectory. In a lightning leap, he intercepts the prey mid-flight, securing vital protein for his waiting family. Clutching his small prey, the fox father pushes through the raging snowstorm toward home. But in this unforgiving wilderness, a successful hunter instantly becomes prey. Soaring through the whiteout, a golden eagle, an apex avian predator with an 8-foot wingspan, locks onto the fox. It isn't after the bird in his jaws, it seeks the fox itself, a prize capable of sustaining it for days. Diving at speeds exceeding 150 miles per hour, the eagle transforms into a living missile. Its talons can exert a crushing force of over 400 pounds per square inch, enough to crush spinal columns instantly. Sensing the sudden drop in air pressure, the fox father's acute auditory receptors trigger a split-second evasion reflex, twisting his body to force a high-speed miss. Grounded by the blizzard, the eagle shifts tactics, using its massive wings and lethal talons to trap the fox on the open snow. But the father refuses to yield. Dropping low to protect his neck, he counters with agile lateral evasions, staying within the eagle's visual blind spot to neutralize its crushing strike capability. A battle of attrition. For the eagle, sustained combat in sub-zero winds drains critical body energy, making the risk of wing damage far too high. Realizing the fox's unyielding defense offers no quick kill, the giant raptor abandons the assault, taking flight to seek easier quarry in the freezing vastness. Exhausted and battered, but alive. Still holding tight to his hard-won catch, the father slips into the subterranean warmth of the den. Against all odds, he has survived the storm, the wolf, and the sky. Tonight, His family will feast, saved by the unbroken spirit of a father. Deep beneath the frozen tundra, heat and scent intertwine in a moment of pure reunion. The kits crowd around their father, while the mother softly nuzzles his weathered fur. Outside, the Arctic gale continues to howl, but here, within the earth, love and instinct have once again outlasted the cold. Tomorrow, the sunless wilderness will demand new sacrifices. But tonight, the fragile flame of life burns bright against the dark,